Climate change is a popular debate topic among many groups of people, including scientists. Oh, this is an interesting. Okay. My name is Elizabeth Peterson.
Oh, and I'm Bobby Hartzog.
What are you going to be talking about?
We're talking about climate change.
Cool.
Alright, so
Don't worry, I'll edit.
today I'll be arguing that climate change is primarily occurs naturally. One of the biggest forces on Earth that can cause climate change are volcanoes. I will spend most of my time discussing their effect, and then I will wrap it up by discussing nitrous oxide. So when volcanoes explode, they release a lot of stuff into the atmosphere, including molten rock, gas, and ash. One of the gases that is released is carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas. However, if you look at all of the volcanic activity for any given year compared to how much carbon dioxide is released in total, it only accounts for about like 2% of the Earth's carbon dioxide, so it's not a major contributor there. But they also release sulfur dioxide when they erupt, and this is more impactful because sulfur dioxide actually has a cooling effect on Earth. So what happens when it's released into the stratosphere is sulfur dioxide reacts with oxygen to create sulfur trioxide, and then this sulfur trioxide then reacts with the water vapor in the air to create sulfuric acid. And sulfuric acid is a component of acid rain, so it's bad in that sense. But when the sulfuric acid is in the atmosphere as droplets, it actually produces a cooling effect, because when solar radiation comes in, it's actually reflected back away from Earth instead of down into the lower atmosphere, which is what greenhouse gases do. They trap in heat. And an example of this is the Pinatubo explosion in 1991. It released about 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the air, and this explosion went up about 40 kilometers, so they explode very high, and the stratosphere starts at about 20 kilometers, so a lot of it was trapped inside of the stratosphere. And when they were studying it, it was revealed that the sulfur dioxide in the stratosphere actually, so at that point, global warming, or the Earth was warming, and this volcanic eruption actually decreased global temperatures for about 2 years. In addition to that eruption, scientists have documented when they were looking at the Little Ice Age, which occurred from 800 to 1800 AD, scientists have determined that it's most likely caused by volcanic eruptions. And if you compare the timing of volcanic eruptions since Krakatoa, which erupted in 1883, with the global temperatures, we can see that there is a period of cooling after each of the volcanic eruptions, and the time of this depended on like how big the eruption was and also how much sulfur dioxide was released, because volcanic eruptions don't always necessarily release the same amount each time. It depends on like where it is and what the volcano contains. And actually adding sulfur dioxide to the atmosphere to reduce temperatures is actually something scientists are looking at to like alter the globe, like alter the Earth's temperature, but it's very controversial. There's a lot, it's obviously very expensive, but there's also a lot of ethical and environmental implications of this as well. And I'd also like to talk a little bit about nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide is one of the maybe less common known greenhouse gases, but it's actually really powerful. It's 300 times more potent than CO2, so that means one molecule of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will retain a certain amount of heat, but one molecule of nitrous oxide will retain 300 times as much heat, so it can be a lot more devastating than carbon dioxide. And it lasts in the atmosphere for about 114 years, so it's not something that's like easy to get rid of. And most of the nitrous oxide that we find in our atmosphere comes from the nitrogen cycle, so that happens naturally, and that accounts for about 60% of the nitrous oxide that we find.
Well, then I argue that, the main cause of the climate change is caused by human activities. And scientists also agree that the human activities is causing a climate change. One of the main things that one of the main changes is that humans' extensions on the greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases is warming the earth, which is causing the heat to get trapped in our atmosphere. And there are certain, gases that are getting trapped in the atmosphere, which is, the water vapor, carbon dioxide, the methane, the nitrous oxide. The human activities are really changing the natural causes of the greenhouse gases. Over the past century, most of the carbon dioxide has increased tremendously. The reason behind this is because the human activities of the burning of fossil fuels like oil and coal. The more that the humans wipe out the clear lands to build like the industries, the agricultural and other human activities like driving like the cars and everything, which is polluting the air, could also enhance the greenhouse gases. This causes the earth to warm even more, which can cause evaporation and precipitation. And this also warms the oceans and melts the glaciers, which can cause the sea levels to rise. So I would think that the main reason behind these climate changes is because of the human activities that's going on. I mean, yes, the climate changes naturally, but the more that the human activities is going on, the more rapid the changes would occur, and it'll make it even worse. And that's what I argue against that.
Okay, so you talked about a lot about like what we have been doing, but also a lot recently we've been like trying to decrease there's the Clean Air Act was passed in the US in like the 1970s to kind of like reduce some of the pollutants that we put in the air, but we still see that there's a lot of increase. So if we're working to decrease our emissions, why is it still growing so rapidly?
I mean, they are doing things to help, stop this from growing and everything, the hybrid cars and everything like that. But I mean, it's still they're still wiping out the clear lands and everything and building a bunch of stuff where we need those clear lands to have our grass and our trees and everything. So.
Bobby asked a question about hers.
Oh.
She asked you a question.
I mean, yeah, you talked. Just with blanking. I can't think of that.
Alright,
Yeah.
you guys good? If you think you're done, just say you're done.
I think we're good.